4 teams, 2 spots in the championship, and 1 opportunity to make history. Today, the best of Conference Carolina's Acrobatics and Tumbling takes the mat in a pair of high-stakes semifinal matchups, where precision meets pressure and champions will emerge by the end of the weekend. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome inside the Shaw Athletic Center on the campus of Emmanuel University here in Franklin Springs, Georgia for the 2026 Conference Carolina's Acrobatics and Tumbling Championship semifinals. I'm Anna Catherine English, and with me here today is Jada LaRock, a senior student athlete on the Acro Tumbling team here at Emmanuel. And today we are set for an incredible showcase of athleticism, teamwork, and composure under pressure. Acrobatics and tumbling is one of the fastest growing sports in the NCAA, and it blends strength, flexibility, and synchronization in a way unlike anything else. And with the sport now officially on the track towards its first NCAA championship in 2027, the stakes have never been higher. Since its introduction as an emerging sport in 2020, Conference Carolinas has been at the forefront of its growth, consistently sending teams to the national stage over the past 6 years. Jada, I'm so glad to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here. This is so much fun.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to have your expertise with me here because these are 2 really great teams that are getting ready to perform today.
Yes, they are. These teams have shown so much resilience throughout this whole season. And seeing them both come together and see what they can put out on the mat, it's going to be really interesting to see.
Absolutely. Coker University punched their ticket on Tuesday in a quarterfinal win over Mars Hill. And Wingate comes in as the current undefeated team here in the conference, as well as their first program regular season championship. We're going to pause one moment for the national anthem.
Followed by playing of our national anthem. Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity to honor you through friendly competition. We pray that you keep all players safe and help each and every one of you to honor you through our actions. We thank you for this competition and ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Some keys for today's meet. For Coker, they're going to really need to start fast in the compulsory and have a really strong acro event. They come in with the advantage over Wingate in their average acro score this season, and that's going to need to come into play as today unfolds. For Wingate, they're going to need to stay clean. They've been one of the most consistent teams in the conference all season, which did lead them to their first ever regular season title and 7 all-conference selections. We're going to begin with the compulsory event, where each team is going to compete with identical predetermined sets of skills with a predetermined starting value of 10. There are 4 heats in this event: the acro, pyramid, toss, and tumbling. Wingate averages a 36.29 total event score this season, with their strongest event being the pyramid heat, where they average a 9.69 this season. And Coker averages a 35.12 total event score, with their strongest event being the toss heat. Their average score in the toss is a 9.48, so they're going to really need to max out on as much difficulty as possible today.
Yeah. Seeing them put everything they got out on the mat is going to be, really fun to see because these teams are so close together in average scores for the season that it's really going to take, grit and hard work out on the mat to prove who should be going into Sunday.
Absolutely. There can be no errors in this one. No room for error.
No. The judges see everything.
All right, we're going to start off with Coker. Really nice strength from the bases on this one. A really nice solid start from Coker.
Yeah.
Nice switch ups. Great start for the Cobras. In this first group for Wingate, we're going to be showcasing one of the NCATA D2 Freshman of the Week. She is the current reigning Freshman of the Week, number 35, Carly Woody. She's just a freshman, so she is really honestly making such a great mark over at Wingate. She is a huge reason why they are still undefeated this season, and really excited to see her and Emery Eccles, who is the Conference Carolina's Freshman of the Month for this March. Really excited to see two freshmen making such an impact on a team so early in their careers.
Yes, that is very important for this sport to see new emerging athletes create such an impact on their teams. And so seeing that Wingate has two will be it's a really fun thing to see and to watch them go out here and do what they have to do to help support their team with being newcomers.
Absolutely. And like I mentioned earlier, Wingate had 7 all-conference selections this year, which was the most of any program. So not only were they undefeated, but they had the most all-conference selections too, which just is a really big test to how well their season went this year and what they're going to be bringing today and probably tomorrow also with the event finals and maybe even for our conference finals. All right, and next up onto the mat is Wingate with their acro event.
Very good timing from Wingate.
Great hold on those inversions. Very nice. Great switch ups to the arabesque. And a very clean full down. Really nice timing from Coker. For
Yeah.
Wingate.
For Wingate. And they are so sharp that it accentuates every single thing they do.
Absolutely. You can truly, and that really helps the judges a lot too, when you can see every single move because it is that clean, it is that sharp. It really helps those judges kind of score a little bit faster because they know every element has been hit.
Yes.
Next in the compulsory, we are going to be moving into the pyramid. Pyramid is going to have certain structures that have to be built. There's got to be an entry. There's got to be some body positions and inversions that's got to be met. And then, of course, a dismount at the end.
Yes, personally for me, pyramids, me and pyramids don't mix, but
Totally fair. Totally fair.
they are
Pyramids are tough.
They are,
Yeah.
but they are amazing to watch. It's amazing to see how we can build on top of each other, and it is just a steady structure. So it's really interesting to see the different things that you could do with the pyramid and just the true strength of each individual athlete.
It is truly mind-blowing to watch the type of pyramids and the structures that we'll make. We were just talking earlier that we are both kind of a cheer background, so a lot of the structures we're used to making in pyramid aren't quite like the ones they do here in acro.
Yeah.
All right, up next is Coker in the pyramid. And these are the structures that we're referring to. These 2-1-1 structures.
Nice, tight, clean holds from Coker.
Wonderful timing as well. That was
Yes.
a really, really great section for Coker. That was very clean timing, very clean skills. Everything was very defined. That should score pretty well for them.
Yes, it should. And seeing these teams go back to back and how clean they both are, it really shows for how good this competition is going to be today.
And how tough these judges have a really hard job today.
Yes.
I do not envy them. We're up here having a good time. I do not envy them at all. And Coker this season for that acro and for the pyramid, they've actually had some pretty consistent scoring. Pyramid has been one of their top scoring events within the compulsory event. They've scored as high as a 9.65, but very consistently scoring in the nines, which I do think we will probably see that type of scoring here today from them. Up next to the floor is Wingate for their pyramid. Great strength. Great strength.
Wow.
Another very clean pyramid. This is going to be so tough here. Both schools had an excellent execution on both pyramids. So that's going to be very tough.
It's
going to
be a
tight there.
very close competition today.
And of course, like we mentioned, Coker competed already once this week, eliminating Mars Hill in the quarterfinals. So they're no stranger to seeing some action already this week. So sometimes that either is, a great thing because you feel a little bit more comfortable on the mat, or you're that little bit extra tired. So hopefully today they will come out on the mat and be just super strong, but they've already got a great start to today and maybe a little leg up, already competing once this week.
Yeah, I think this definitely adds fuel to the fire with them having competed and beating Mars Hill and then coming into this weekend. I think it adds a little fuel to the fire. And since they're going against the number one seed,
exactly,
they have something to prove.
Exactly. Up next is the toss segment. And what the judges are really going to be looking for here is not just skill, but it's going to be that timing and that precision. That was a great toss from Coker. Great timing. Really love the body structure in that tuck toss.
Yes, nice high catches.
And toss is something that Coker also scores pretty well on throughout the season. They average a 9.48. Their highest score of a season was a 9.8 back in March. So they've been so close to a 10. And with Coker, they also have had pretty much steady stream of 9s all season long. So a great start to them, and just adding to that great scoring that they've already seen this season. So they've kind of had their 2 strongest events with compulsory. So we'll see if they can get the tumbling where it needs to be.
Yes, tumbling is the most precision-based event of all the compulsory, based on how many steps you take.
Absolutely.
That is the biggest part of compulsory tumbling, and what gets your score lowered is the amount of steps you take. So it'll be really interesting to see, watching and seeing what the judges kind of pick up and what the audience picks up.
Absolutely. All right, Wingate coming in for their toss.
Wow.
Another strong toss, another strong score. And this season, Wingate is averaging a 9.52 in the toss. Their highest score, they've kind of matched it multiple times with a 9.75 several times throughout the season. But they are averaging a 9.52. So we do expect to see them scoring maybe even their best score of the year, because that was pretty perfect to me. That was pretty perfect. I'm not one to throw out 10s, but that had to have been pretty close.
Well, Wingate's one of the few teams that has gotten a good amount of 10s this season.
Yes, yes. In fact, we'll see Wingate, Lander, they've had a couple of 10s.
Yes.
I think Montevella's been pretty close. Coker's been pretty close to some 10s. So we could be seeing some more 10s that haven't happened yet for some of these teams this season. But this could be the weekend in which they finally crack the code and they get that 10 for the season.
Seeing a 10 this weekend and seeing the excitement of the teams on the sidelines would be a sight to see.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no better time to, I think, get a 10 than now.
Because no matter what team you're on, you want to see a 10.
On the mat now, Coker with their tumbling section. A little bit of timing on that back row. Picked it right back up there. Great timing with those back handspring to tucks. And to finish with the running section.
Wow, really good timing. Sticky feet.
Great timing, great sticky feet. That's so important with acro, is those sticky feet. All right, up next is going to be Wingate with their tumbling section. And this year they've had some ups and downs in their tumbling. They've kind of been a little inconsistent on their tumbling scores. However, their best score of the entire season did come on April 3rd when they competed with Montevello and Newberry. They were a 9.1. But their season average is only an 8.2, so 8.02. So I know that they want today to be another 9 for them, for sure. But they've had a little bit of inconsistency here, so we'll see if they can pick that up and get one of their season high scores here today. All right, coming up next is Wingate, again for their tumbling to finish out this compulsory event. Great standing tucks. Nice timing. Well, that was a great showing from Wingate. And in that group, we did see our current Conference Carolinas March Freshman of the Month, Miss Emery Eccles, number 11. She was pretty instrumental in that. I noticed her through the whole way through. She has great timing. Unusual for a freshman to really come in with that much confidence and being able to showcase herself just like that. But I noticed her immediately the minute she gets out on the mat. So I totally see why she is the Freshman of the Month.
Yes. And I love how she had a smile on her face the whole time.
Exactly.
It really draws your eyes to her.
It does. Conference Carolinas is committed to aligning with businesses that share our common values and, like us, strive to attain excellence and virtue in all endeavors. We work hard to make our corporate partnerships a truly beneficial relationship through mutually agreed upon customization that will lead to unparalleled exposure. To learn more about being a corporate partner in Conference Carolinas, please visit conferencecarolinas.com/corporate partners. All right, so we're still waiting on some scoring to go, but we're going to go ahead and move on to the acro event, where we're going to see partner skills and groups competing in 3 different heats of 5, 6, and 7 elements. Technique from bases and tops is going to be key in this event, and the 6th element does include a duo group, so synchronization is going to also be a huge factor in that heat. Coker's going to come into this event with a season-long advantage over Wingate because Coker's averaging a 27.3, and Wingate is just behind... Wingate's just above them with a 27.44, and Coker is coming in at a 27.3. So both teams are going to need to have season bests, and really in that 6th element we're going to need to see their best because they're both that's where they're having a little bit of inconsistency this year is in that 6th element.
Yes, watching acro event is probably the most fun out of all of them because you get to see the creativity that both teams bring to the event and just really showcase their talents and what they can do.
All right, we've got some scoring updates. So for Coker in the compulsory event, their acro score was an 8.800. Wingate was a 9.375. For the pyramid heat, a 9.675 for Coker. And for Wingate, a 9.925. So close to that 10. In the toss, Coker with a 9.275 and Wingate with a 9.750. Rounding out with tumbling, Coker with a 7.800 and Wingate with an 8.500. So currently, Coker with a 35.550 and Wingate just 2 points ahead with 37.550.
Still very close after the first event. So it's still close, and Coker could come back if they put it all out there for the next few events.
All right, so first up in the acro is the Heat 1 5-element competition. We're going to have Coker out first on the mat. Their starting value is a 9.95. Seeing a lot of strength from those bases in this.
Beautiful high hand in hand. Oh. Wow.
Beautiful.
Nice control from the top.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
That takes a lot of core control from the top and also leg stability and arm stability from the bases.
Absolutely. And really, both groups really have to work so in tandem with that, because without your base's strength, your top girl is not going to be able to do any of the skills that are needed. But then vice versa. Without that top girl having the core strength and the flexibility needed, the bases have an even harder job.
Yep. Everyone has to be in sync and, work with each other. That's the only way acro is going to work.
Absolutely. And much like cheerleading and much like gymnastics, there's so many times in which it is an individual thing happening, but it's also a small group or a duo happening. And so that's kind of what makes acro tumbling so cool and so different, is that you have all these elements of group things, you have individual things, you've got a duo, you've got a trio. So it really allows for people to be able to showcase so many different strengths that they personally have. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite part of competition?
Probably the excitement of being on the sideline or on the mat and knowing you just hit a near perfect event and going back and just celebrating with your team. I think that is the best thing. And also just cheering people on. The thing people don't understand about acro a lot, and I get asked about all the time, is why do you cheer for both teams? But this is such a team sport that even though we're competing against each other, we still want to see the other team succeed.
Right. Great recognizes great, right? Yes. All right. Up on the mat now is Wingate with their 5-element. Nice control from the base. Very nice.
Wow. The height she gets is amazing for that 360.
Very nice. I have to say, to see a female single bases stunt doesn't ever cease to blow my mind.
No. And she did that no problem. Like, it was nothing.
I mean, she was looking at the judges like, you see me, I see you. Absolutely impressive. And that did have a start value of a 9.95. And if I was a judge, I would say they've got to be pretty close to that start value.
Yes.
So moving into Heat 2 is going to be that 6-element synchronized. So that's going to be the key factor here, is that you are going to have synchronized groups. So any little movement that is not happening at the same time as the other person is going to be the first thing the judges see, and that is going to be, what kind of makes that difference here in scoring. So with that 6-element, you've got to just be on your game with both teams and have that counter being really strong and really loud, so that way there's no room for error.
Yes, during 6-element, I'd always watch the other group out of the corner of my eye in order to stay
really
on
good peripheral
the
vision.
Right. Yes, that's why we stagger.
Yes, yeah. And in this 6-element for Coker, they will have a starting value of a 9.85. And in this group, you are going to see Olivia Sisson. She is number 8. She is the Conference Carolinas Specialist of the Year. So very excited to see her out on the mat. She was out for the compulsory, but just keep a close eye on her. There's a reason why she's Specialist of the Year. She's really solid all across the board. So really excited to watch her here in the 6 element. Just doing a little scoring. So we're going to kind of talk about what these season averages have looked like for both teams in this category. So Wingate has seen for the 6 element, not exact, kind of going back to how they were earlier. This has been a little bit more of their inconsistent heat, the 6 element. Their highest score of the year did come at the beginning of the season back in February with a 9.6. And then they brought it back, obviously, with a 9.8 in April. So across the board, they have an 8.87. And then Coker has seen pretty consistent in the 8s and 9s. Highest score of the year came back in March with a 9.35, and they average an 8.81. So really interested to see how this goes for them. And they have a start value of a 9.85. Great core strength from both the bases and the tops here. Very nice from Coker. A lot of great synchronization there. I saw just a few little instances with a little bit of kind of wiggles underneath, but overall, really, really nice job from Coker.
Yes, the height that they get on those dismounts is out of this world. You can see that they put practice into those dismounts, and it comes and shows out on the floor.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like with those dismounts, especially as you're transitioning into those additional sequences, you want to have those dismounts because you want to make sure that the girl's getting enough height to get to that next part, that they've got enough time to transition and move. And if you don't have a really good dismount, sometimes that's going to get your timing off.
Yes.
All right. Wingate will be up next on the floor with a start value of a 10. So let's see. They have had an 8. Like I said earlier, their average this season for this heat has been an 8.87. But they did have one of their high scores of the season just the other week in their tri-meet with Montevallo and Newberry. So hopefully today they can bring that right back. I have no doubt that they'll be able to.
Beautiful
Very
height
nice.
on those half rounds.
Very nice twisting dismounts. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Very nice. Again, another great heat from Wingate. A lot of, not just synchronicity, but a lot of really, their starting value was a 10, but they got what I feel like is pretty close to it with all of the additional dismounts that they had with the twisting, with the twist and then the layout. So they could be pretty close to their season best.
They could be pretty close. There was a little bobble in the beginning, but other than that, that was a near perfect 6 element.
And just a reminder with this section, judges are really going to want to see height, control, but technique. Technique is going to be the key from every single person on the floor, whether you're the counter, whether you are the base, whether you're the top, whether you're catching. They want to see technique from every aspect of whoever's on the mat.
Mm-hmm. Yes, people may not think the counters have much to do on the mat, but
that's a job I don't want.
That's a job and a half, because being out there and counting and being under the pressure of being out there and watching your teammates, you get all these emotions, so you can either speed it up or slow it down. So being a counter is also an important piece of the puzzle when you are doing acro.
Absolutely. And I feel like the counters are kind of the most important factor of all of
Yes.
this, especially in that 6 element where you've got the synchronized pyramids happening. Without that counter, everybody's on their own at that point. All right, so we are going to be moving into this last heat in the acro competition. We're going to be moving into the 7 element. Coker has a start value of a 10. And they are seeing really great scores this season. This is actually their best event. They're averagely scoring a 9.51. So would love to see that here for them today. Nice catch.
Good control.
Beautiful
height.
Whew. That was textbook.
Nice control from the top and base.
Beautiful layout. And that's why this is their best scoring event in the acro competition. What an incredible job. That twisting dismount was just,
textbook. That was,
I'd like to see that again. Give me a replay on that.
Olivia's dismounts are always top tier when she is in the air.
That was beautiful. And not only that, but her base really gave her that perfect amount of strength to get her as high as humanly possible, so that you saw every rotation her body was making, leaving the judges no questions asked. That was a twisting dismount.
Yep.
But same with her layout dismount as well. That was an incredible layout dismount with, again, a lot of height, which is kind of hard when you think about it, because you've not got a lot of people underneath you. So to get that much height from a base is really impressive. All right, up next is going to be Wingate with a starting value of a 10. This is one of Wingate's more a higher section for them as well. They're averaging a 9.31. Just last week, though, again, another 9.8 from them. So we'll see how that goes today. But they've had a little bit of disconnect a couple times. But again, for the most part, very consistent here with this last heat. Very nice. Grateful.
Took off slightly from the base, but made it around. Good body position. A little crooked, but
She landed straight. Great control. Beautiful. Very nice, very nice. A couple little, like we said, a couple little minor things in there. Judges are going to notice that. But again, across the board, very nice. All elements taken care of. So another very solid heat from Wingate. This does conclude the acro. So now we're 2 down and 3 to go.
3 to go.
3 to go.
This competition's heating up.
It is heating up. It's getting very close. I mean, after the compulsory, they were just separated by 2 points. I thought Coker had some really great opportunities here to boost their score a little bit. Wingate, again, very solid here in this round. So we'll have to see how these judges are going to pan this one out. So after this, we are going to be moving into the pyramid event, and this often brings some of the most visually impressive moments of the meet. So you're going to have multiple athletes working together on the mat to build very complex structures. And again, these pyramids, just like the ones in compulsory, must have an entry, a structure, and a dismount in order to be able to receive a score. Each heat is going to have different requirements. The inversion in heat 1, the synchronized in heat 2, and then the open pyramid in heat 3. Wingate does have the advantage this season with scoring average of 28.82 and scoring back-to-back perfect 10s this season in the open pyramid. Coker's been very consistent all season long, but they're going to need to bring their season-high best in the inversion and the synchronized heats in order to keep up with Wingate in this part of the competition.
I think Coker can do it. I think they really have the energy today and, the fuel to the fire to really want to put everything out there, because neither of these teams know what's going to happen in the future. So they're taking each event step by step and really just giving it their all for that event at that time.
And it can be a little intimidating coming into today and being against the number 1 team, and you've already had a meet this week. So it can be a very intimidating atmosphere, but I feel like Coker is handling themselves incredibly well and doing a phenomenal job so far.
Yes, they definitely are. And I love how both teams are keeping it fun on the sidelines, not letting the pressure kind of get to them, and just having a good time and enjoying being at Conference Carolinas.
And that can be one of the harder parts, too, is just keeping your spirits up, especially as you're waiting for the scores to come in and you're waiting to move on to the next part. That can kind of be a little nerve-wracking because you want to stay as calm as possible, but you're also like, what did we just get? Yeah. Especially if you were in that last section, like, what did we get? So that can be definitely the more difficult thing to try to keep your mind off of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Still pretty close, though.
Yeah. Because Coker does not have good tumbling. Wingate's tumbling
Yeah. Coker might be able to come back and cover it.
All right, we've got scores from the acro heat. In the 5 element, Coker had an 8.925. Wingate with a 9.375. In the 6 element, Coker with an 8.475 and Wingate with a 9.025. And in the 7 element, Coker with a 9.225 and Wingate with a 9.6. So that brings that running total for Coker to a 662.175 and Wingate with a 665.550. So just a 3.3 point difference. It's still very close and very doable for Coker to keep it very tight right here. Moving into this pyramid heat.
Right now, Coker's taking that running total and thinking, we're still 3 points away. We're in this. We can catch back up.
We can do this.
We're still in it.
Absolutely.
And that's the mentality you want to go into conference with. Honestly, we love an underdog story.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. All right. Moving into pyramid and heat 1 is Coker with a starting value of a 10.0. This is incredible strength. As you notice, the bottom base is in a back bend.
Good hold.
Very nice. Very nice. I don't think we give enough credit to that bottom girl. She is upside down in a back bend with someone standing on her and then someone on top of that. I mean,
the only thing supporting her is her arms and her legs, which are not normal to be doing at the same time upside down.
And not with body weight. Not with body weight. Gosh, that is, I don't think we give bases in this event enough credit because they are having to do some of the craziest things with their bodies in order to build that pyramid structure.
And those select few are special because not everybody can move like that.
No, not everybody can bend their backs like that. Not everybody has the leg strength. I know that it could not be me. So
yes.
I give them mad props for that. Coker comes in this season with an 8.95 average score in that heat. They did score one of their best scores of the season at King back in April, so just about a week and a half ago. So they have seen one of their best scores of the season just recently. So hopefully they can match that today. We're going to be moving into Wingate in this same phase of competition. Wingate has a starting value of a 10. And this season, Wingate does have some great averages in the pyramid. They very, very rarely fall below a 9 in this event. With this first heat, their average score is a 9.64. They have been so close to 10s in this first heat that I know they're itching for that today.
I think they can get it.
Very nice. A little wiggle at the top, just a little bit of a wiggle at the top. Would have loved to have seen the top with a little bit more body control, but overall, very, very nice start to this pyramid section. All right, moving into this second heat is going to be synchronized. So, Jada, tell us a little bit about what we're getting ready to expect from this synchronized portion of the pyramids.
So what you're getting ready to see is two groups doing the same exact pyramid. So their timing has to be precise. Their technique has to be, unison. So it's basically like what we saw in 6 Element where you had two groups and they were doing the same exact thing. That's exactly what's going to happen right here. So they really want to watch out for each other in their peripheral view, make sure the counter is on track, and just, stay together, but also showcase each technique style throughout the pyramid.
Absolutely. And it's kind of nice because we get a little bit of an intro to it during that compulsory event. You kind of get a little bit of an idea, but we're going to see a little bit harder skills in this section, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so starting off with Coker, their starting value is a 9.9. This season, they are averaging an 8.81, so they are going to have one of their best scores of the season here today in order to keep up with Wingate, who's got very strong scores across the board all season long in this entire event.
As you see, Coker really likes bridge pyramids. Good control by the mids.
Very nice.
Timing.
Very nice. Very nice.
I think that was a really, really good pyramid they just put out there.
Absolutely. That very well could be one of their best scores of the season once we come in for it. For Coker, having those bridge pyramids can almost make things a little bit more difficult with the synchronized because you are really hoping both of those very bottom bridge bases are holding their, core, their legs are strong, and that no one is having those little wavers underneath because that's just going to translate back up to the top.
Yes, and then being on a bridge pyramid, which not my favorite, but it does take the mid having a lot of core strength because there is nobody holding them up.
Absolutely.
So having that core strength and really knowing how to use your legs and rock on your feet is really the most important thing about a bridge pyramid. But then, as you said, also having a good strong base that knows how to control their body underneath the structure, even with feeling the weight, because most people can do a bridge, but then you add weight on top of it and it could crumble if not with the right technique.
Absolutely. And for those mid layers, that's a really tough thing because you're trying not to put too much body weight down into your base underneath you in the bridge, but you're also having to make sure you do have the right amount of upper body weight and strength to be able to have your top and not let her fall and not let her go anywhere. All right, so we're going to move into Wingate for their synchronized pyramid with a starting value of 10. And again, like I mentioned earlier, this has been a really great event for them. They are actually scoring an average of a 9.49 in this event specifically. And they are also with the bridge pyramids. Very creative dismount.
Very good timing for Wingate.
Yes, I really love that dismount of kind of making that half circle back to the front. Very creative, especially as most of the time with your body, you just kind of want to fall forward. That's your natural reaction. So to have that core strength to kick your leg back to the side and then come off from there is very impressive and very nicely done by Wingate. But you can see why they have very strong pyramid scores all season long. Like I said, very rarely do they even go below a 9. And that was a very big look into why they've had such great scores all season long. Again, if you're just joining us, thank you so much for coming into our broadcast. You are in the middle of the Coker University versus Wingate semifinal for the Conference Carolinas Acro Tumbling Championships. All right, Coker, in this last heat for the open pyramid. This is one of my favorite heats of the entire competition is the open pyramid.
I love the open pyramid.
The creativity that comes behind this is just so awesome. Very nice strength.
Very parallel pike.
And a very nice tuck roll out. Great job from Coker. Very nicely done. And that is actually their highest scoring event here in the pyramid. Consistently all season long, they've been scoring a 9.64 on average. So another great one from them today. They've been very close to that 10. They've had a couple of 9.8s this year. But again, that 9.64 is what they've been averaging all season long, and we definitely see why they are scoring in that top tier section. All right, we are moving into Wingate with a starting value of a 10. Now, this is the event where we have seen 2 weeks of perfect 10s from Wingate back in February and March. So let's see what they're going to bring us today.
Oh, little bit of a wall.
Little bobble at the top.
Good control from the top.
Very nice. Hate that we had that little wiggle at the top. I think that's going to unfortunately not take them to that 10, which they've seen a couple times this season. But again, still a very, very strong pyramid. Very difficult, as you can tell, going to that extended structure at the top. Great job. Great job by Wingate. All right, that does bring us to halftime. So we will be back in just a few minutes. So stay tuned. We will be back in just a few minutes. Conference Carolinas would like to thank our corporate partners, Athletic Solutions, Atlantic Casualty Insurance Company, Bob McCloskey Insurance, Box Out Sports, Big Pair Sports, Buff & Baker, Builder Services of North Carolina, Championship Award Guys, ConferenceCarolinas.travel.com, Digital Scoreboards, Engine, Field Turf, Hometown Ticketing, Hourthon, Huddle, the Marriott of Spartanburg, McGriff Insurance Services, McMillan Pasden Smith, Podium X, Rocket Alumni Solutions, Sidearm Sports, Southern Recognition, LLC, South State Bank, Sport Performance Tracking, Spry, Team Builder, Ticket Smarter, U-Report, and Vernon Graphics and Promotions. Please visit conferencecarolinas.com/corporate partners to learn more about Conference Carolinas corporate partners. And we are getting ready to announce our pyramid scores here shortly. So if you're just joining the broadcast, welcome to the 2026 Conference Carolinas Acro and Tumbling semifinal match against Coker, the number 4 seed, and Wingate, the number 1 seed. All right, pyramid scores are in. In the inversion heat, Coker with a 9.625 and Wingate with a 9.65. In the synchronized heat, Coker with a 9.575 and Wingate with a 9.7. And in the open pyramid, Coker with a 9.625 and Wingate with a 9.5. So that brings the running total score to a 91.0 for Coker and a 94.4 for Wingate. So Coker made up some very needed points in this, still down by just about 3.4 points. However, they had some season bests included in that pyramid, so a lot to be proud of from Coker for that event. We're getting ready to move into the toss event, and this is where things really start to take flight. Big air, high difficulty, and no margins for error on the catch and landing from each team. At this point, both Coker and Wingate are starting to feel the pressure, and a big toss can swing momentum one way or another, but a mistake here can be very costly. This event is going to have 3 heats. Heat 1 is the 450 salto toss, Heat 2 with the synchronized toss, and Heat 3 with the open toss. Coker's starting value for this 450 salto toss is a 9.4. And they are averaging an 8.85 this season, so I know they would love to see that average coming up a little bit closer to what their starting value is. They've had a 9.05 and a 9.1 this year, so it is doable to get closer to that starting value, but I know that they really need to get those first 2 tosses to their highest level possible today. All right, on the mat for their first heat and toss is Coker. And this is anchored by a lot of their all-conference selections, so this should be a very strong toss with a lot of experience underneath. Very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Traveled a little bit to the side and then came back.
Yeah, it didn't have the height that I would have liked to have seen and that we have seen already from some of their tosses and even some of their dismounts. We've seen that big toss. Would have loved a little bit more height because I think that could have allowed for the twisting element itself to have not landed so sideways and really deep into those bases. I kind of saw that catch was really had to be absorbed. Yeah. But other than that, very good. Again, no real bad errors, but at the same point, those little things are really going to start to add up. Yes. And so now is where you don't want to have those things happen. So, again, their starting value for this was a 9.4, and Coker was averaging in this event an 8.85. So I know that they want to improve on that, and hopefully we see that today. Up next, with a starting value of a 9.9 is Wingate, and they have a very strong season so far in this heat. They are averaging a 9.4, which is pretty good. Very close to getting closer to their starting value. They have not hit that starting value just yet, but they did have a 9.65 once this season and a 9.60 last week. So they've gotten very close to it. Again, we want to see those explosions from the bases, getting that height up there for their top girl. Very nice.
Beautiful height.
Very nice. Beautiful height. Wonderful rotation. That was a very, very great toss. I see why that has been such a very high-scored event for them. I will say one of the things about the toss for acro tumbling that, you know, as a former cheerleader, is having to basically toss from the prep level is very difficult. I don't think a lot of people understand that, but that is very hard to kind of hit that toss. Yes, you are using your legs, but normally in a cheer, you're stepping into it and it's down kind of below at your knees when they're stepping in. So you've got your whole upper body and your legs. But with this, if you don't have strong legs, your girl's not going anywhere.
Yeah, coming from cheer and then to acro, being taught to then put my hands up and really hold that position and then get the power just from my legs solely was a bit of a reality shock.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I was so used to, you know, double dipping and starting from the bottom and them doing kick doubles instead of double fulling and landing
at the prep
straight
level.
on me.
I cannot even imagine that.
Because you don't know fear until you've experienced someone double fooling straight at your face.
Absolutely. Oh, gosh. Again, couldn't be me. All right, so going into this second heat for the synchronized toss, Coker's got a starting value of a 9.4. And this is one where they really, really need to have one of their best tosses of the season. Their average is an 8.81. They have seen some really strong scores this season, but we need to see a season best right now.
Really nice height.
And that could be very close to a season best for them. Great height, wonderful synchronization. That can be really hard on those twisting elements to stay synchronized as possible, especially when you're midair and you've just been chucked up in the air. That can be very difficult, but I felt like they had really great timing. Even with the little body movements, I felt there was a lot of synchronization happening there.
And the judges only can catch so much, so even with the late absorption and the kind of absorbing backwards, they're more looking at your feet and seeing if you're taking steps rather than
your body going that rock.
Moving.
Yeah. And again, it's a little difficult, and as somebody who is a base, I would rather my body be what's catching and moving than my feet, because if my feet are moving, everybody's gone. It's going to create that whole exactly, and it's all moving with you, which in cheerleading, after watching NCAA for the past few days, all I've seen is tosses moving all over the place and scaring me half to death, especially when they're on the band shell and that toss looks like it's about to go off. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I think, you guys need a little bit of acro tumbling training with these tosses, because their feet are going nowhere. Got to give a little shout out. Some of these schools here for acro tumbling have schools that are competing at NCAA. So very, very awesome to have all this happening in one weekend. All right. Like we said, up next is Wingate with a starting value of a 9.4. Very nice. A little high of a catch. You could kind of hear it, which is not what you really want. You want it to absorb it a little bit more. But again, like we mentioned, that's not really the problem. It's just that's hard on the bases' bodies to catch like that. But very
nice
good.
Timing.
Yeah, very nice timing overall. Very nice twists. Again, kind of like we said with Coker, timing on the body movement for those tops was fantastic. And, expecting to see a great score coming in from them. All right, we are going to be moving into the final toss. The final toss is the open toss. Coker has its high starting value with this toss with a 9.90. This is also it is their highest toss score. On average, they are scoring a 9.34, but they have seen a 9.8 this season, so they can almost reach that 9.9. They've seen it once, and hopefully they'll see it again today.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
She spun
Stunning.
So fast.
That was stunning. And again, bases really caught that one very nice. Backspot had a great little, kind of making sure that those shoulders stayed exactly where they needed to be, so there was no budge. That was a beautiful open toss.
Yes. Open toss is always my favorite to watch.
Yes, I know. I love open toss.
This has nothing to do with this meet, but 2 years ago, Emmanuel did put out a Arabian double full toss.
Oh.
And went to event finals for it, and that has been open toss has been my favorite toss ever since then.
Oh my gosh.
I love watching so.
Well, I love watching height. I love watching precision. And with that open toss, it's almost like everybody just lets their inhibitions go and they just toss in like kind of whatever happens type of thing. Which again, we know that they've got the skill, so we're not worried about it. But it is so impressive to see the trust that they put in each other for that open toss that you don't necessarily see in those other ones because they are like, let's just go for it. Let's just go for it. So,
the other tosses, they're trying to be more on time. And this one, they can kind of, give it their all and try to get the height that they really want to show that they can execute the skill well.
Absolutely. All right, so next we will move into Wingate. They will have a starting value of a 9.40. And on average, this is not their best. This is one of their slightly consistent, slightly inconsistent. Looking at their scores, they average an 8.85. I have no doubt that they're going to come out and do stronger than an 8.85, but consistently they are scoring high 8s, low 9s in this, so we'll see what they bring out today. Very nice, very clean.
Simple, clean, open toss.
Absolutely. And sometimes that's what ends up.
That's what you need.
Exactly. That's what you need. All right, while we're waiting for the scores for the tosses, we're going to talk about how we're going to be moving into the tumbling event. The tumbling event is where individual, group, duo, trio, a little bit of everything happens in here, and it's going to take center stage. It's all about power and speed and technique. We're going to see 6 pass events here: the duo pass, the trio pass, the quad pass, the aerial pass, the 6-element pass, and then finish up with the open pass. Coker's Olivia Sisson is the one to watch in this event, as she's the reigning specialist of the year, and her season has been highlighted by a 9.875 in the open tumbling pass and a 9.4 in the duo tumbling pass. So really excited to watch Olivia. There's a reason why she is named the specialist of the year, and this tumbling is a large part of what got her that award for this year. And a fun fact, the reigning national champion technically came from Conference Carolinas. She's graduated now. Casey Keir, she is a assistant coach down at Francis Marion now, but she is the aerial pass national champion reigning right now. So,
oh, wow.
Super bummed that she's retired and coaching now, but she's an excellent coach, an amazing athlete. She started her career at Baylor and then transferred to Limestone and graduated from there last May. So, Casey, if you're listening, shout out to you. Really miss watching you tumble, but had to have that little plug because she represented Conference Carolinas at the national level last year at the national championships. All right, the scores for the toss are in. For the 450 salto, Coker with an 8.525 and Wingate with a 9.375. In the synchronized heat, Coker with an 8.125 and Wingate with an 8.675. And in the open heat, Coker with a 9.350 and Wingate with an 8.875. So if you're following along, that is going to bring the running total for Coker 117.0 points and Wingate at 121.325. So Coker keeps kind of inching towards that number. Tumbling is going to be very key for both teams, but especially for Coker to make that jump back. Like we mentioned, they've got the reigning specialist of the year, so I'm expecting to see some really great things from Coker, and especially from Olivia. She is such a phenomenal tumbler, and her numbers show.
I think Coker can come back in this tumbling event. The scores show that they have done really well in tumbling event. So I'm excited to see kind of what they put out there and then also what Coker kind of gives back and just hope they kind of feed off each other in this event.
All right, so starting off with the duo, we've got Olivia Sisson and Anna-Kate Barrier. And they've got a starting value of a 9.55.
Wow.
Wonderful. Wow, that was fantastic from both girls. Again, I can't brag on her enough. We see why Olivia is our specialist of the year. Her tumbling and her twists are just out of this world, truly.
That was amazing.
And Anna-Kate, shout out to her.
She kept up. They were in sync the whole time. It was
truly. I love watching tumbling like that. Oh, man, isn't that special? I love watching that.
I wish I could do that.
Same. Me and my ugly back handsprings could never. All right, so moving into Wingate. Wingate has a starting value of a 9.55. And they are averagely scoring an 8.53 in this event. So we will see Chloe Parker and Emery Eccles. And as we mentioned earlier, Emery is currently the Conference Carolinas Freshman of the Month for the month of March. So she, obviously, as a freshman, is doing so much, but we've noticed her in so many of the events so far today. And, man, she's just such an asset to this team and this program.
Wow.
Beautiful. That whip. Goodness. That was a fabulous pass. Every single element was perfectly executed in great synchronization. Again, duo can sometimes be hard because you've got to have that person in your peripheral. Sometimes the trio feels a little bit easier, or the quad, because you've got someone on either side of you. But with that duo, you are like praying that you were just keeping up with them.
It's hard because people have different tumbling styles. So some people tumble faster or slower. So like trying to either slow yourself down or speed yourself up while you're tumbling is probably the hardest part of tumbling events.
Well, those were two fantastic passes from both teams. Honestly, that's a tough call on that because both passes were fabulous. Great elements, great synchronization, very impressive. So up next, we will move into that trio tumbling like we were talking about earlier. Coker will have a starting value of 8.75. And they average a 7.34 in this. They've had some very kind of inconsistent scores this season on this, but I really have it in my bones. They've had such a great meet today. I really think we're going to see, hopefully, a season best here today. So in this trio, you've got Sasha Thompson, Tamara Stewart, and Chloe Hull. A little stumble there at the end, but that's okay. That's okay. Great elements, though. That little stumble on the end is going to get them a little bit on those points. But when it came to the actual tumbling, it was great timing, great synchronization. Just kind of had that stumble there at the end. All right, so up next, we will have Wingate. Wingate has a starting value of an 8.75. This has not necessarily been their best scoring for their team averages. This and the quad have kind of been their lower scoring this season. So their average is a 7.71. But again, that starting value is an 8.75. So they really got to have really great synchronization and really strong tumbling today to kind of get above that average but get closer to that starting value. And in this tumbling trio, we will see Evelyn Lacroix, Caitlin Keeler, and Abby Harris. And by the way, those are two freshmen and a sophomore. So that is, they've got some time on this team to get better and better. But man, think about the future with those three right there.
I love watching newcomers show up and show out.
I can't imagine the pressure that you feel as a freshman, especially at a conference, championship weekend. That pressure that you have, you don't want to let your seniors down, you don't want to let the upperclassmen down, but you also want to make a name for yourself. You want to go into next year being like, all right, I killed it as a freshman.
And I think this year has definitely helped them do that because of how well they've been doing this season.
Again, this is a starting value of an 8.75 for the trio.
Beautiful.
Very nice. Very nice. Excellent timing and precision. All elements, very clean, very perfect. That could be the score that they were looking for to finally get out of the sevens that they've been averaging.
I definitely think that could be the start of a really good score.
And their season best is an 8.1, so we may be closer to a season best from them in that. All right, we're going to go into the quad tumbling. This is going to have 4 athletes competing. Coker's starting value with this event is an 8.0. This is their lowest scoring average for this season is in this heat. They're averaging a 7.2. And their season high was a 7.8 back at the very first meet of the year. So Coker really, really needs this group to have a season best without a shadow of a doubt, and they really need them to get back to that 8.0 starting value. So would really love to see a season's best here from Coker in this quad tumbling. In this group is Autumn Butler, Amaya Elise, Holland Duhame, and Micah Cunningham. And Micah Cunningham, that's a familiar name to you because you guys used to be teammates.
Yes, Micah Cunningham was a previous teammate of mine. But now she's at Coker and she is thriving there. I'm so proud of her and all she's accomplished there.
That is fantastic. Well, this is going to be extra special for you to watch, so I'm going to let you call this one.
That was very good timing for the fulls. Simple, clean, but very well executed. Could have been a little tighter just for me, a little sped up, but other than that, I think it was just a little slow. But again, that could have been intentional just to keep that timing. But it did kind of feel like it lost its speed and its kind of push that it really needs. But again, you want to get those elements, you want them to see your elements, and you want that clean finish, which they did get that time. So great job from Coker for the quad tumbling. All right, we're going to move over to Wingate in the quad tumbling with a starting value of an 8. This also has not necessarily been their best heat this season. They have an average of a 7.21, and their best score of the season came back in February with a 7.650. And again, that starting value is an 8. But they have consistently scored in the 6 and 7 region, so I know they are personally going to want to get as close to that 8.0 as they can. In this quad group, we will have Cassidy Poindexter, Helen Molina, Alana Thomas, and Bella Crapus. Bella's kind of been the lone senior. There's been a couple of others peppered throughout the different events, but so far right now in this tumbling section, Bella is the lone senior tumbling out of everybody, which is very impressive for Wingate. Like we just mentioned, they are a very young team in the sense that they've got some really all-star freshmen and sophomores on their roster and some really great juniors. So they won't lose a lot of seniors, which is good for them. But at the same point, Bella is holding it down for the seniors in this entire event. It's honestly been really amazing to see how far Wingate has come this season, because I remember when they first started out 2 years ago and it was nothing like this. And then now to see them go undefeated all season, get perfect 10s, like it's just amazing to see what the program can become in such a short amount of time.
And that's a huge shout out to their head coach, Candace Blocker. She's done an incredible job recruiting. She's done an incredible job maintaining her roster and building from it. Because sometimes that is the biggest part, is to not lose anyone to the transfer portal. It's not bad. That was pretty good all across the board. There was just a little under rotation from one of them, which had caused their body to drop a little bit. But again,
slight timing issue at the end, but
overall, not bad at all.
I've never seen quad tumble that close, so that was a little
nervous.
It made me a little nervous, but
I was a little worried, and I said, "Oh, okay." But at the same point, they got it done. So, and everybody walked away just fine, which is even better. So we are getting into my 3 favorite parts because boy, oh boy, are you guys in for a real treat in these next several tumbling passes. We are going to be going into the aerial tumbling pass. Coker has a starting value of a 9.95. So if she hits this, that will be absolutely huge for them. And across the board this season, she's averaging a 9.32. Which is a great score. She's had a season best of 9.7. And this is going to be Tamara Stewart for this aerial pass. So she's been very, very consistent all season long with some really great scores. So I know she really probably wants to hit that season best today and kind of finish on the high note.
I think these next few open passes will be able to help Coker a little bit after the mishap in trio pass.
Yes.
I think if they really go out there and hit these skills hard, then they might have a chance of coming back in team event.
Absolutely.
Wow. Amazing.
Stunning.
Amazing.
Absolutely fabulous pass. Yeah. Such great height on those Arabians. Man, she did exactly what we just asked her to do. It's like she heard it from our mouths to her ears. Fabulous job.
That was perfect. That was amazing.
That was fabulous. And again, when you're by yourself, it's that kind of weird bit of pressure where you're like, it's just me, so if I mess up, I can't blame it on anyone else. It is just me. But at that same point, you also have a little bit of like, whew, it's just me. Like, it's totally fine. So she rose to the occasion. What an awesome pass that was. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a really great score coming from that.
She did that with ease. That was amazing.
All right. So coming into this aerial tumbling pass for Wingate is Chloe Parker. Her starting value is a 9.55. She has averaged an 8.88 all season long. She has had a season high of a 9.375, but predominantly kind of staying in that 8 range. So I know she's obviously going to want to have her season best today, which she can absolutely get very close to it. We just probably saw it from Coker, so I would not be surprised if we see it here from Wingate. So again, this is going to be Chloe Parker doing her aerial tumbling with a starting value of a 9.55. Very nice. Very nice.
Almost the same pass as her duo pass.
Yes.
Just added an extra back handspring, but still executed very well like her duo pass.
Absolutely. And she is a tall girl, so I know that that's got to be so hard to figure out exactly how much space she needs because she is very tall and tumbles and uses that whole mat. So very great pass from Chloe. All right, we are moving into the 6-element tumbling pass. In this, we are going to see from Coker, Anna Kate Barrier. Anna Kate has a starting value of a 9.75. And she is averaging a 9.49 this season. She's had a season best score of a 9.650. She had it 2 weeks in a row back at the beginning of March, so not too far away. Again, we are moving into the 6-element tumbling pass, starting with Coker and Anna Kate Barrier. She has a starting value of a 9.75. Great job. Great job from Anna Kate. She's got such tight tumbling. You can see every motion, especially with those back handsprings. She is using those to springboard herself into that next element of her pass.
As soon as she took off running, I knew she was going full throttle for it, and her results proved to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like we said, she's had a very consistent season with her scoring on this. She is averaging, like we said, a 9.49 with that starting value of the 9.75. So she's had a great season all year long with her scoring with that pass.
You can also tell she has really good body control because coming out of that first 1.5 to then step out and keep going into another round of back handspring 1.5, the amount of body control you have to not face plant
and over rotate
and be able to catch yourself is key to doing any step out element.
Absolutely. All right, so we are going over to Wingate, and it is our Conference Carolinas reigning freshman of the month. I'll say it all day, every day, because this girl deserves her flowers. This is Emery Eccles in the 6th element. She has a starting value of a 10. You heard what I said, a 10. And she's averaging a 9.57 in this. Wow. So, folks, we're in for a really good treat here. Truly, I can't wait to watch. I'm going to sit back, and I'm going to let Emery take the mat. A little hard on the ending there, but she had some speed and some height.
Speed, power, height, everything. Little step off the mat at the end, but now she's
That's a celebration over there. Yeah, a little step on the mat. I think it's just because she had all of that power. I think it was just a little hard to stop herself there at the end, which I wish I had that problem when I was tumbling. I didn't have enough power, but at the same point, just a little bit. Unfortunately, they will kind of look at that, but at the end of the day, incredible tumbling pass. You can see why her average score is what it is.
She has a good key skill that most people want when they tumble, which is she tumbles on her toes, which is very important and key when you're tumbling on a dead mat. So for her to tumble on her toes, that's why she gets so much power, why she can go so fast. So that little step off the mat, I'm sure she's still very proud of what she put out there because of the way she tumbles.
Absolutely, absolutely. And her cleanliness with a lot of those skills was just like, wow, you wish you could just take a video and show your athletes and say, that's what I need you to tumble like. Yep. All right, so we're going to wrap up this final tumbling event with the open pass. It is the Conference Carolinas Specialist of the Year. It is Olivia Sisson for Coker University coming out to do this. She has a starting value of a 10. She is averaging a 9.63 this year. She has had a 9.875 and a 9.825 this season. She has not scored below a 9.4 in this event. And, you know, again, like I said, there's a reason why this girl is voted the Specialist of the Year, and we're getting ready to see just why that is. Wow. Beautiful. That punch front was fabulous and just absolutely propelled her into the rest of that pass, but that was fabulous.
I'd be surprised if that wasn't close to a 10 out because what she put out there.
That execution was incredible. Again, Conference Carolinas got it right with that. They really did. That is your reigning Specialist of the Year, Olivia Sisson. And moving over into Wingate, we are going to wrap up tumbling with Evelyn Lacroix. She is a freshman, another incredible freshman from Wingate. She has a starting value of a 9.75, and she's averaging a 9.3, which for a freshman, that is a very good, solid way to introduce yourself to the conference and to the acro tumbling community.
It is.
She has had a season high of a 9.550, so getting just underneath that starting value. So really excited to see what Evelyn has for us today. And folks, if you're just joining us, we are getting ready to wrap up the tumbling event for this semifinal against Coker and Wingate. And then after this, we will move into my favorite event, the team event. Ooh. Very nice.
Very pretty.
That double whip.
Oh, we got a little sass on it with the sellies.
I'm kind of into it.
I love how they're kind of dogging at each other, but it's just good friendly competition.
It is.
You know, keeping it interesting.
No beef, by the way, just so you're all watching home. No beef, but just a little fun banter back and forth. Never hurt anybody. All right, we're just waiting on these final tumbling scores to come in. Like we said, we are getting ready to move into our final event of the evening, or the afternoon, I should say. We're not in the evening yet. Like we said, we are just waiting on these final tumbling scores to come in. All right, so just to introduce you guys to this team event, this is what we've been building towards. Every skill we've seen tonight, acro, pyramid, toss, tumbling, it's all going to come together and culminate into one final routine. It's the longest, it's the most demeaning, but it's the most important of today's meet. All right, so we do have the scores for tumbling. In the duo heat, Coker with an 8.775 and Wingate with an 8.875. In the trio heat, Coker with a 6.175 and Wingate with an 8.050. In the quad heat, Coker with a 7.025 and Wingate with a 7.125. In the aerial, Coker with a 9.625 and Wingate with a 9.2. In the 6-element heat, Coker with a 9.5 and Wingate with a 9.350. And to round it out with the open pass, Coker with a 9.725 and Wingate with a 9.525. So if you're keeping up and tallying it up at home, that running total is Coker with 167.825 and Wingate with a 173.450. So it's going to be very, very, very imperative that Coker hit this team event.
It all comes down to team event. I've been in a situation where we are points away and it comes down to team event. So, like they are now, getting the crowd involved, hyping each other up, but then also having a sense of calm and going out there and just being in the moment with each other, because they don't know if this is their last time competing. So
absolutely,
this is a good moment to really put it out there and show what they can do. And we'll just have to wait and see after both teams are done and see who takes it home.
Absolutely. And Coker and Wingate are very evenly matched when it comes to their team event. Coker's averaging 81.19. Wingate's averaging 82.67. So let's see what Coker's got for us today. With a starting value of a 99.31, here's Coker University with their team routine. A little bit of timing errors there on those standing tumbling passes. Again, with the way that the elements were on the floor, it was a little hard to tell, but there was a little bit of a timing error in that back group. Moving into their pyramid structures. A little timing. Nice pass across the front.
Beautiful 1.5. Oh, little under rotated pull.
Nice aerial to tucks.
This was their time to really breathe, take it all in, reset for the second half of the routine.
Great
Beautiful
tosses. Nice synchronized duo in the front.
Very good extensions.
I'm going to give a shout out to number 6, Cameron.
Pretty 3 to fulls.
This has got to be one of the harder parts of the routine, keeping up with the timing. Oh. Gosh.
A little fall on that.
Okay, way to get up. Way to get up, ladies.
Beautiful 1.5. The amount of tumbling in this routine is taxing, and they are doing an amazing job at it.
They really are. And doing this at the very end after your bodies have just gone through it all, this entire competition, I am very impressed by the power that they still have behind this routine. Great job. I know that's not the routine that they wanted. However, there were so many strong points inside of that routine that is still something to be very proud of. Again, there were some things that just, it didn't go their way, which is a total bummer for them, obviously. Really hope that the base for that one pyramid is okay. I see she's getting some treatment on the side here. But again, they had some really, really great parts. So much tumbling in that. Really great synchronized elements that were happening. A lot of mat usage, which is something that the judges are really looking for, is are they utilizing the mat in all spaces of the mat at all points of the routine. So across the board, great job to Coker. I know that's not the ending that they wanted to have, but still something to be very proud of.
Yeah. And the good thing is that they still have another chance tomorrow to be with each other one last time and, compete for some awards with event finals happening tomorrow morning. So it's not the end to their story yet.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They do have so many qualified for those event finals tomorrow, and you can see why. They've had such a great competition here today. They've had some matching some of their season bests today. They've upped their averages on some of their event scores. So Coker should be very proud of themselves and how today went. All right, we are going to move over into Wingate and their team event. Like I said earlier, they are averaging an 82.67 in this event. Their starting value for this event is a 98.81. And like we said earlier, this team event is peppered with juniors, sophomores, freshmen, a handful of seniors, but this has got such good kind of juju for the future for Wingate to see this many underclassmen just performing to a standard that I don't think a lot of freshmen and sophomores normally see in their first 2 years of college.
Especially with how many people they have on their team this year. I love to see that a lot of them are underclassmen, because that means this program will go far in the next couple years, especially with how their coach is recruiting and how well the underclassmen are doing now.
Absolutely. And again, a huge shout out to their coach for building this program up in just a short period of time. She has girls that are graduating that were on the original team when it first began. So again, she's obviously, got a lot of commitment behind it. But like we said, she's not seeing people jump to that portal very often. No. So building a really, really great team and a big team in order to be able to fill the holes when needed is so important, especially in this sport when you need everybody at all times. So we are going to go into this team event. Like we said, they've got a starting value of a 98.81, and they are averaging an 82.67. So I know that they want to see their team average be as high as possible going into what will be the conference finals tomorrow. So I know they want to see themselves having one of their best scores this season, just to kind of give them a little bit of that push and that juice they need for tomorrow. Wow, very nice.
Timing is really good on those pyramids. They move like robots, so they really do. Is really precise.
It's very precise, very clean. Judges can see every single last element there. Very nice trio. And a little nice duo up here in the front, too. Great timing on both of those passes.
What I love about Wingate's routine is that everyone is involved somehow. They have so many groups to be able to involve everybody.
Wow. That
really
is
good strength.
Unbelievable strength from those bases. And again, some of them had zero back spots with them. No side base, no back spot. That was just pure athleticism and strength.
Some 3 to 4s again.
Yep, you heard it. They had the 6-7. Beautiful timing on these passes. Wingate's kind of putting on a clinic right now on exactly what a team event should look like.
Wow. Great body positions.
Perfect timing. I love the mat talk that I see too. I think that's so important in this event when you are doing all of these elements at all times, to see these girls still encouraging each other when they're winded. And
That's the most important part. That's how you keep a routine going and you keep it looking good.
Great save by number 7 on that tumbling pass. She knew she needed to stand up, and boy, did she squeeze those legs and get herself right up. Beautiful. And here they go.
Dance.
Now they're just having fun, and you can see it on their faces. They know they're done. They know they've just put out a spectacular routine, so they're just having a good time in these last 8 counts.
Love it.
Great job from Wingate. I think that they could see a possible season high score here. That was a fabulous routine. I cannot stress this enough. That synchronized tumbling at every single angle was incredible. There was not a time where there was not a duo, trio, quad pass happening that was not perfectly executed on timing and skill. Wonderful job by Wingate. I cannot brag on them enough for that wonderful team event. So now we're going to sit here and we're going to wait for these final scores to come in. This can honestly be one of the more nerve-wracking things to sit here and know, for Coker, they didn't have the team event that they wanted. Wingate had the team event that they prayed for. That kind of can be a little hurt. It can kind of hurt a little bit too, and just wishing that you could go back and do things over again. But like we said, Coker has nothing to be ashamed about. They've had an absolutely fantastic meet here today. Very impressed by so many of their tumblers. They had excellent 6-element, open, and aerial passes. I mean, those were just flawless, and we will see those girls again tomorrow.
Yes.
And really excited to see some of Coker's program competing tomorrow in the team finals. But they have had a great season. Like I said, they had to win to get here. They already had to have a win this week in order to get here today. So they should be very proud of themselves on the experience that they brought here today, and a great meet. In Conference Carolinas, we work hard to help build champions in mind, body, and soul. We are proud of our tradition, and we are committed to taking it to an even higher level in the years to come. Please visit conferencecarolinas.com to learn more about Conference Carolinas and all of our amazing member institutions, including the ones that you will see here today and this weekend. Again, go to conferencecarolinas.com to learn more about all of the member institutions and all of the sports and the championships that are upcoming for Conference Carolinas, because we are in our spring championships, and so we are rounding out this athletic and this academic season. I know they said there's flag football and there's all these other amazing sports. I mean, gosh, I would have loved flag football. I was a big powder puff football girl when I was in high school, so I would have 100% thought I was like Tom Brady out there.
Our flag football team is actually playing right now.
Oh, well,
they have a game at 5. So.
Okay, so good luck. Good luck to Emmanuel's flag football team. Good luck to all of the teams that are competing. I know there's volleyball, there's flag football. Of course, we're here for the acro tumbling championships. And Conference Carolinas really has one of the more inclusive conferences I've ever seen with the amount of sports that they have available for student athletes to participate in. It's absolutely incredible. A couple weeks ago, I was actually at the cheer and dance conference championship, which, as somebody who is a former dance and cheer coach, to see teams getting an inclusive competitive environment where they get to have a conference championship. That doesn't happen anywhere else. There are very few conferences that allow for their spirit squads to have their time to shine. And so to see what Conference Carolinas does for their student athletes and all of the availability that they have for people to compete is just really, it's top notch. And I have my hats off to Conference Carolinas because not only do they have a fantastic conference, but they also have a wonderful group here running this Acro Tumbling Championships here today. So Coker with a 79.520 for the team event. And Wingate with an 83.510. So that brings Coker's final score to a 247.345. And Wingate with a 256.960. So, once again, Wingate remains perfect through the semifinals, a composed, confidence performance from start to finish. And when the pressure peaked in the team event, they delivered like they have all season long. Coker definitely pushed them, especially in those tumbling and some of those other events. But with no question, Wingate showed exactly why they've been the standard in Conference Carolina this year. So for everyone who joined us this afternoon for semifinal 1, thank you so much for being part of our first of 2 broadcasts for the day. Be sure to stay tuned as number 2 seed Lander takes on number 3 seed Montevello in just a few minutes. For my partner in crime over here, Jada, I am Anna Catherine English, and we will see you guys shortly for semifinal 2.